Hello, everybody. We're going to, we're going to dive into the full moon coming up on the 24th of June. So here in Quebec, where I am, that coincides with Saint Jean-Baptiste Day, which is a big deal here. And we just had the entry of the sun into Cancer and for the solstice, and that coincided with Father's Day. And I have to say, the feedback I'm getting from everybody, and including for myself, is that the last week to 10 days has been emotionally quite intense for a lot of people. So usually we often say that about full moons as well. So it's coming up. I will take a look at the chart and see if we can expect more intensity or not. And we also have Mercury that just went direct again, which is great news. So, we don't always feel it right away with Mercury. There's still a post-shadow phase. There's a pre and a post-shadow. So it's retrograde 3 times a year for 3 weeks, but then there's a pre and a post phase. So it's sort of like more like 3 times a year for about 5 or 6 weeks each time that we feel Mercury out of phase. And as I've said on other videos, Mercury retrograde is really nothing to be nervous about. It's just that it puts you in more of a reflective or perhaps more of an emotional state than a, academic sort of on quick, fast, logical mind, And we expect society to run like that and faster. So when Mercury goes retrograde, and sometimes you just need that time to be spaced out or thinking of something else, or you need time to let your brain just not be always working. That's the kind of thing Mercury retrograde can do. It can put you deep in your memories. It can make you more sentimental because it depends what sign it's in. So that's why they give this advice about being careful signing documents and being careful reading things. Because sometimes, technology does tend to screw up around the retrogrades. You can find that your computer is glitchy, your phone is not working. Sometimes people have full-on tech crashes, during Mercury retrograde, but they don't happen every time. They have a different intensity at each one. But we do have to be careful of what you agree to and careful to reread things, because anytime you're more in a different part of yourself, you're reminiscing, you're in the past, you're not as on to catch every detail of something that's right now that needs your attention. So that's what Mercury retrograde is to me. But that, it has gone direct now. That chapter's over. We're in the post shadow, so that should be all getting better. And then that means things should be easier and flow faster. Plans move forward. Agreements can be, more confidently signed, which is good here, again, for rental season and house buying and people securing trips and stuff now that we're opening up borders. Interestingly, here in Canada, the day that the border opens and they change the rules is pretty much when Mercury will be completely in the clear. I don't know whether they use astrologers still or not. So let's take a look at the chart for this full moon. It actually looks quite good, which is good news, right? So as usual, a full moon, the sun is opposite the moon. So the sun is at 3 degrees Cancer and the moon will be at 3 degrees Capricorn. Now, for a long time, many times, when this particular full moon comes around, Pluto has been sitting in Capricorn for many years. So some years that made this particular equinox full moon very intense. But this time, Pluto is significantly far enough away that it doesn't make an aspect with opposing the sun or conjunct the moon. So this is good news. It's not as intense as let's say last year was. Pluto's still making some aspect, though, opposite Venus. So what does Venus opposite Pluto do? Reminds me of the song, "You can't always get what you want." There could be some power struggles with desires. Classically, you'd say, oh, power struggles or aggression or anger with women, between women or with another woman, because it's Venus. I'm going to be a little more general than that and say the pure essence of Venus is what we want and desire, how we express our sense of aesthetics, our sense of beauty. Venus is in Cancer, so right now Venus wants things to be comfortable, cozy, calm, atmospheric, very nurturing, very soft and feminine, cocoon-like energy. Now, Pluto in Capricorn is completely opposite to that energy. It's the driving, hardcore, capitalistic force. So, we might say that one way that energy is playing out right now is some of these latest reports and articles where corporations are trying to get us back to work, back to the office. And Venus in Cancer is like, no, thanks. I'll work from home. I'm happy here. That's one way it can play out. So you could feel this full moon. There's some pressure from the masses, from society, from your workplace, from your bosses, from, just again, like I said, that intense patriarchal capitalist force in Pluto that is got a few more degrees to go. So we're not out of the woods and into a completely new chapter of life for a few more years, but it's hanging on, like claws on a cliff, wanting the old world to stay the way it is. And we have Venus in Cancer, the desire, the energy is opposite to that. There's a big push-pull with people that want things to go back to the way they were and the way they knew it, and people that are like, no, that didn't work. Let's do something else. So let's look at other aspects to this moon, if there's anything challenging it or helping it. And there's one aspect here that's a little more difficult with Chiron. It's squaring Chiron in Aries, and therefore it's also squaring the sun. So you've got cardinal signs squaring off with each other based on, this wound, which is Chiron in Aries. Chiron in Aries is the wound of the self. What does that mean? Like, maybe you give yourself away. Maybe you don't feel you have a strong enough sense of yourself. And if you don't have a strong enough self, then it's very hard to form healthy relationships. It's hard to assess and ask for what you're worth and what you deserve. It's hard to defend or stand up for yourself or your boundaries. So Chiron in Aries is usually somebody who's wounded on that level, and then you either give yourself away too easily, or you end up with narcissistic partners or bosses, or it could be in the family. So there's going to be a challenge with the moon and sun squaring it to really look at that in yourself. Like, do I have a healthy sense of self? People that we mentioned narcissism, that is a completely unhealthy sense of self. It's inflated, and it's actually not a secure self at all. It's the opposite of that. So you might be asking yourself questions like that this full moon. Like, am I honoring myself? Do I feel a strong sense of who I am, enough that I know who I am when I enter a relationship, when I start a new contract or job, or when I work with a new customer, when I go out to a new environment where things are unfamiliar to me, do I have a strong enough sense of who I am, regardless of where I am, regardless of who I'm with, that stays consistent? Do I know who I am enough to, do I know who I am, what I bring to the table? Because that's going to impact your relationships and your sense of your self-worth, and that'll play out in your finances and everything in life. So that's one thing that could be going on this full moon. Other than that, we have pretty nice planets. We've got Jupiter that's helping the moon a little bit. It's not a super strong aspect, but it's Jupiter, so Jupiter expands, and that's also making a nice aspect to the sun. So it's super helpful for this to focus on that Jupiter energy, which is in Pisces. And Jupiter in Pisces is sort of the ultimate compassionate, creative person. Very gentle, soft, spiritual, likes to, live in the realm of possibilities and ideas. Very inclusive and accepting. And as you can see, how different that feels when I describe it compared to what we just described with Chiron. So if you're struggling at all with your sense of self, or you feel like, dissatisfied or bypassed or misunderstood, or whatever's going on that lets you know maybe your sense of self isn't strong enough yet, the way to handle that is by being gentle with yourself. Use this watery trine with Jupiter, Pisces, the Sun and Venus in Cancer. Use that water energy. Neptune is in Pisces too still. That's a long-term thing I keep talking about, but it's emphasizing the water. It's emphasizing that it's time to lie down and just feel it. You can't think your way through a lot of things in life. You have to feel your way through. And that means you've got to really take the time to slow down, give yourself space, give yourself enough support, give yourself the right environment or conditions so that the emotion can come out. Can't do that when you're just in your head. You can talk about it all you want, but it won't relieve it. It won't move it forward unless it's emotions that are being digested and purged and shared. And so one way to help yourself, your sense of self, with those water planets is slow down, nurture yourself, be gentle. Ask yourself, am I being too hard on myself? Am I judging myself too harshly? Am I always a critic of everything that I'm doing? Because that's another way that you don't reinforce a positive sense of self. If you're always crapping on yourself, if you're always talking about yourself in a way that's semi-putting yourself down or joking, ha ha ha, or diminishing yourself, allowing other people to diminish you because of the joke or because you're phrasing things in a negative way about yourself. So taking a look at yourself speak. I have to work on this in life too. I'm giving this advice because I know it's true, and I know it's hard. It's hard for a lot of people to do this and remember to do this, but it's a good time to revisit this habit. Listen to yourself when you're describing your life. Are you phrasing things in a worst case scenario or in a bad light? Is it giving an impression that isn't actually quite right? We're not talking about whitewashing everything to be cheery and positive if it isn't, but I'm talking about like people that, can't receive a compliment. They always have to say something to like put a damper instead of saying, yeah, thank you. That's going to affect your self-esteem over time if you don't receive compliments. People that don't ask for help or that refuse help when it's offered. That's another thing. if you don't let yourself receive help or receive or ask, you over time you just feel isolated and lonelier, or maybe it's you feel you don't deserve it. All kinds of things can happen when we don't have that trust in ourselves and other people enough to say, hey, I could use your help, or I could use your feedback, or, you know, I could do this alone, but maybe I want to do it with somebody. It's part of the nurturing of yourself, part of being gentle and accepting yourself. So the overall feeling I'm getting from this full moon is that it's time to boost your self-esteem in healthy ways. So what else is going on in this chart? Well, we've got a really nice aspect with Chiron. So with healing the wound, we've got the South Node in Sagittarius, and we've got Mars in Leo that all support this Chiron. So that's interesting, because Mars in Leo would also say, Mars in Leo doesn't put up with any crap. Mars in Leo is like, I'm here, man. I've done the work. Like, pay attention. I'm talking. They let Mars and Leo shines. They don't have trouble. They don't have trouble showing off what they can do, showing off their skills. If they're confident, you know, when there's a trine like this, it's a good sign that it's time to show off, not show off like, oh, you know, like one-upping people and competing with people. That's not what I mean. It's allowing yourself to be seen and allowing yourself to shine. So if you've done something you're happy with lately, tell somebody, take a picture, show it, put it up on, let yourself receive some praise. Let other people say, oh, wow, that's great. Mars and Leo doesn't have trouble accepting that attention. So that's why it's very helpful when it's touching Chiron, this self-wound. This is the way the energy's flowing to help you get out of it as well. So stop judging and watch yourself speak and say, you know what, I do deserve somebody to say something nice. Of course I do. Whatever it is you're struggling with, Mars and Leo is a great time to just be a bit more the king or the queen and say, nah, I deserve this. Self-expression is part of Mars and Leo too. There's a little bit of drama, a little bit of flair with Mars and Leo. They like to dress up, like a little bit of flash. They like luxury. They like theater. They like, you know, dramatic or mood lighting or candles. You know, they like nice clothes, nice cars. It's not so much the same thing as Capricorn when they buy those things, or an earth sign. That's more like, see how much I paid for this? Look at this status thing. Look at that brand. I'm well-to-do. Mars and Leo is doing it like, wow, look at the mood this puts me in. Look at the scene, like a move, like they're creating a movie in their life or in their head. Like, wow, look at how this looks. This is cool. This brings me this. It's the feeling it gives them to have, like the stuff that they surround themselves with, or the atmosphere they create. It's to set a mood that makes them happy, makes them feel inspired or romantic or ready to act. That's what Leo's doing when it comes to stuff, more than the earth signs, which are more concerned with like showing how hard they worked for something. And therefore there's a certain status or respect that, you know, for the hard work that it took to get those things. You see where I'm going? It's quite different. So use that Leo side instead right now to help with your self-expression, to help you say the things you've been needing to say, receive the attention that you deserve that maybe you haven't had. Let yourself receive it. So this same Mars in Leo is squaring off with Uranus and Taurus. So that might create some friction or restlessness. But Uranus and Taurus is just not comfortable there, and it's not going to be comfortable there. We've had it going through this sign for the last couple of years. We've got a few years left. It's a period of time where people are going to feel not quite secure, unsettled, looking for the next way to feel secure and settled. And it's not time for it to be settled down yet. It's still a time of like shaking the dust. So just know that Uranus and Taurus is something that's a long-term societal restless feeling. Now with Mars squaring it in Leo right now, tempers can flare, tempers can fly. People can get into arguments or frictions. As you express yourself, of course, we all know, like, as you step things up and you ask for more in life, or you say, hey, I deserve, to be paid more for that thing I'm serving you with, or, hey, my boss, I'd like you to actually take me seriously when I'm speaking. Whatever it is where you're upping the level of saying, hey, no, I'm worth it, there is pushback. There's always going to be pushback when you grow. That's just life. But you have to grow anyway. You have to use that Mars and Leo side to say, I'm going to do it anyway. Because Mars and Leo can be very courageous and bold. And they can just go out there and dance alone in the middle of the dance floor and say, I don't care. Look at me. And of course, there'll be people on the sidelines. Oh, what is she doing? Oh, she shouldn't do that. Oh, I can't believe she's doing that. Right? When you want to build your self-esteem and you want to assert yourself and grow as a person, you're going to be uncomfortable like that sometimes, and you're going to be out of your comfort zone, and you're going to receive other people's reactions or judgment or pushback to you doing something new. What I'm encouraging is to take a risk. It doesn't have to be a huge one. It can be a small one. But take some sort of risk to express yourself that brings you closer towards raising your... Everyone's suddenly calling in the middle of my video. Okay. So yeah, take a little bit of a risk to raise the bar for your self-esteem, for the purpose of your self-esteem. Now, what else is going on here? We have Saturn also squaring off with that Uranus. Saturn in Aquarius, it's opposing Mars, and it's squaring off with Uranus. So we've got another square off with strong signs. Again, when you see Mars opposite Saturn, it's that same feeling. So not quite like Venus, Pluto, but it's still got this feeling of like, I can't get what I want. Because Saturn comes along to want to structure and make things serious and slow you down and, order things. And so you'll feel that push-pull with this Mars and Leo energy, I'm telling you. The pushback of somebody going, oh, no, we can't do that. We don't do it that way. Or other people that get threatened or intimidated by your boldness or self-expression. They could try to clamp down on you in some way. I'm thinking mainly that would happen probably at work environments more than your personal life, but it could happen in any way you say, hey, it might be something as simple with Mars and Leo as, you know what, I'm just going to dress up today. I'm going to put on my dress and my high heels and go to work. I don't care. And Saturn would go, we don't dress like that at work. What are you doing? And it rains on your parade. Whereas Uranus and Taurus is more like, this is changing things. I'm not used to this. This is not how we do it here. Now it's making me insecure. The Saturn in Aquarius is different. It's more like, what are you doing? And it'll sort of like cast a doubt in order to like direct things the way they think it should happen. So just be prepared, my friends. If you feel ready to take a step forward and assert yourself and grow your self-esteem and say, hey, I manifest more, or get to the next level and say, no, I'm worth that. Just please expect pushback from people wanting to clamp rules or people who are insecure that you're changing. And that's just part of life to me, but it's definitely part of this chart. Now, Saturn is supported, though, in good ways by Mercury and the North Node in Gemini. So what does that mean? Well, there will be support for the side that says, "Oh no, what are you wearing that for?" Oh no, we don't. That's not how we do things here. Where in this city, those aren't. So the side that could be giving you pushback will have support. So what does that mean? Well, it might not be just you with an individual. It might be you against it's a huge thing, but society will either support, this direction that you're being judged or suppressed, or other people in groups, whether that's work, families, peer groups. They will probably talk a lot, maybe gossip, and they will support that side, like, oh yeah, I can't believe she did that. I can't believe you wore that. I can't believe, this isn't the way we do things here, blah, 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 blah. So that could be a factor. So, but again, the nicest aspect in this whole chart is Mars, trine, Chiron, trine, South Node, and Sagittarius, which is all fire, which is like, I want to be free and I'm going to go out there and do what I gotta do. And I don't care if you don't like it. I have to do it for my growth. That's the attitude. So try your best to be gentle on yourself if you're ready for that bold move. If you're not, you're not. If you are, you are. If you are ready for it, be gentle, be kind to yourself. Don't judge yourself. And also try to be kind in your mind or outwardly towards even the people who are judging, or the people who are, oh no, they're changing everything I was secure with. Both of those sides are coming from either a lack of tolerance, a lack of understanding, or fear. And Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces and Venus in Cancer, Sun in Cancer, that's the best quality there, is that they would say, it's okay, I understand that what I'm doing might feel scary to you, but they already know, like, that's the other person's fear, that's the other person's issues, because they know in themselves, I know what I got to do for me. So if you don't quite understand that I got to do that, or you're triggered by it, I understand you're triggered. It's okay. And you see the separation, you see the compassion in that, the gentleness towards yourself. You're not drawn into a battle or an argument. You're not defending yourself all the time. You know what you need. You know who you are. But you can be compassionately aware that people doing something that's outside the norm or bold, or people suddenly expressing and blossoming who were shy before. It's scary to people when people change, because they suddenly feel like they don't know where they stand, or they suddenly feel triggered, like they're aware I should be changing too. So that to me would be the level of compassion to hold. But otherwise, I'd say if you're ready, go out there, do something bold. Let's take a look at our cards now. And I'm just going to smudge and light my sage. All right. And just imagine, you can light some with me if you like. If not, just imagine that all of this is around you as well. Just nice smudge of the cards too. So let's see if the cards add anything to it for us. All right. So our first card here is Temperance, or art. This is the card of juggling many things at a time. I love this card actually, even though it took me a while in life to understand fully this card. It's a mature mindset, this card. This is the alchemist or a witch. She's mixing everything together. Just like any recipe, anything that you bake, think of the most amazing cake. You don't just dump everything in the bowl all together at once, beat it up and expect a perfect cake. It'll still be a cake, but it won't be the same as if you spend 20 minutes to fluff and cream the butter at room temperature before you add your vanilla and your eggs at room temperature. You know what I'm saying? There's an art and there's an order to things that create the best results. Just like a cake, life can be like that too. So the first card is all about timing, timing, timing. That applies to everything, whether it's traveling or your love life or what you're supposed to do next, if you're supposed to buy a house or wait. This is all about the intricacies of small timing. And it's not just your timing and what you want, it's the bigger picture. One thing changes in society so that it opens up an opportunity so that somebody else is now ready to decide so that now you can go do and get the thing you want. This card means there's a higher timing going on to what you want right now. You have to release your ego for that to happen. Second card, beautiful, the love card, Two of Cups. Lovely message about intimacy, dating, getting closer, romances, entering the scene or becoming stronger. So this seems to be so far a lot about timing with love, but it could apply to your work. But this is probably more likely to be timing in terms of intimacy and getting closer to a loved one or bringing love into your life. Wow, great cards. The Magician is next. Great card. I mean, the Magician is the master of manifesting. He or she just has all of a skill set that is vast, multitasking, enjoying it, being full of energy, doing everything all together. The Magician knows that everything has its own timing, and they just roll with it. They embrace it. They know that they just have to keep busy, and they have to just keep doing multiple elements of things and keep things in motion and stay open, and the magic will happen. Now, the Moon card is next, and the Moon is often sensitive to the cards that are beside it. So if we put the Moon next to these three first cards, the Moon could add a magical feeling to what's going on. There could be something magical with who you meet, the chemistry, the way things happened, some sort of very, what's the word? Like a romance movie kind of feeling, maybe with a date or someone new that you meet. Often the Moon reveals like secrets and shadows, and usually that's how it plays out. But once in a while, when you get it beside lovely cards, like three in a row the Moon can lend an extra mystical or magic or fated, amazing feeling to what's going on. Yeah, and the next card's even good too. So this moon card is actually really, really nice. It's going to heighten things in a really beautiful way. Now, the Ace of Discs is usually a new job. It can also be a new friendship. It can also be a new contract or some money that comes in. It's not a huge windfall. If it's money that comes in, it's a nice chunk. It's not like a lotto. It's not a, more than you were expecting kind of feeling. It's a solid card. Maybe your tax returns come in. Maybe you get a rebate on something. Maybe an investment pays out. But there's a nice chunk of money. Otherwise, the chunk of money comes from being hired for something that's solid. When this is job related, it's nice. It's a new job. It's a solid job. If it's a contract or a new client, it's a solid one. It's grounded in reality. It's healthy. It's paying you. It's reliable. So the moon card and the magician and all this, and then this bodes really well for any of you that want to bring your friendships closer or meet new ones. Any of you that want to start dating, anybody that's in a couple that wants to bring it stronger, reaffirming your closeness. And it also really affirms people who are in their business side, taking things further, growth within your company, growth within your own finances and your work life. So it's beautiful cards. Wow, then we've got the Queen of Cups, who is very Cancerian or Piscean. She's the water element. She's the water queen. So this is a lady who's embodying all of the stuff that I mentioned about nurturing, compassion, detachment, wisdom, humility, being, in her mind, in her memories, in her dreams, in the realm of what's possible. So this gives me a nice, very secure feeling, very secure emotionally, which is really a great sign with all the rest of it. The next card is our Prince of Discs, which usually we don't like him as much. He's a little bit sort of lazy or doesn't want to work too hard, wants everything handed to him. Because he's somebody with a lot of potential, but he hasn't stepped up to be responsible or accountable. So you might just keep an eye on who that is. Maybe it's someone you'll help. Maybe it's someone you will take a couple steps back from. But he's in and around you. And it doesn't always have to mean it's a guy. But who you're looking for is somebody who is a bit immature or entitled, and who is not able to be dependable and reliable. And the rest of the cards are just so beautiful. Why would you accept that right now? Ask for more. Okay, so Ten of Swords confirms that to me that you will probably be letting go of this Prince of Discs figure. You'll probably be saying, you know what, I don't want people that I can't trust or rely on in my life. I don't want this level of inconsistency in my life. It's not working for me. It's not working out with us. It's not working with how we work together. Prince of Discs is about to get a wake-up call. Somebody around you who suddenly loses a relationship or loses a job, that could be the reason why. Otherwise, it might be you in that position of letting this person go or just not wanting to date them anymore. Anyway, it doesn't feel major. It feels like a clearing out. It's a good thing. And then we have the Two of Wands, which is, as you can see, angry and arguing. So the guy is going to give you pushback as you let him go or as you give boundaries. I would say try to avoid getting into fights with this person. if you can. Try to let it go as gently and quickly and easily as you can without getting drawn into that, because it's this guy or this energy is dragging you down again. I'm going to pull one last one then, just to close off. All right, so the Nine of Discs. So the Nine of Discs, again, look how solid that is. It's an Earth card. It's a Virgo card. There's many streams happening here. That can be streams of people you meet, friends, social networks, other customers, other businesses you work with, other employees you could find. This could be other people that you meet and date. This can be other streams of income. To me, it affirms, like, stay on the high road. Don't let someone sink you down. Don't let someone drag you into a fight. Like, that is in the chart, right? Like I said, oppositions and people being triggered by your changes. Don't let yourself be drawn back into this. Keep it high, and just remember with this Nine of Coins, or Nine of Discs, that you've got multiple options and you don't have to stay in that situation or with that person. You can move on and you'll be fine. I'm just getting such a cool feeling about this full moon now all of a sudden. I feel like protected and soothed and relaxed. It's a good feeling. All right, so let's pull a card for each sign and see. Okay, how do we phrase? Yeah, let's do it in the positive. So how can each sign, what do you need to do to help increase your self-esteem right now? Increase your sense of self. Aries does represent the self. So we'll start with Aries. Aries, how do you increase yourself? And Chiron sitting in your sign is not easy for Aries right now. Chiron hangs around a while. So it's challenging Aries with their self-esteem for a few years. All right, so Aries, what advice do we have for you to raise your self-esteem right now? Okay, we have the Nine of Cups, happiness. It's a Pisces card. This tells me that the way you increase your self-esteem is it's all about who you surround yourself with. Staying true to friends that are good to you and accept you and that you accept in return. Definitely this card speaks to me of socializing and reaching out, having those gatherings, meeting up with people more, reaching out when you need to talk. Also, it could talk about, emotional or creative expression, but I get more a feeling of socializing with this. Often this card can be like a party or a wedding, a celebration, which we still might not have during COVID, but we certainly have the ability to get together and gather again. So I'd really emphasize that right now, be very selective with who you're surrounded by, but spend more time with them and strengthen yourself. Taurus, how do you raise your self-esteem right now? Two of Discs, and it is a Taurus card. No, sorry, it's a Capricorn card. Jupiter in Capricorn, change. Well, this makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, with what I said about Uranus passing through your sign for several years, feeling like there's little earthquakes, can't quite get your ground, can't feel like, check, this is done, don't need to think about it, I'm secure. There's too much change going on. So how does Taurus build your self-esteem? You would do it by accepting change as part of life, by trying to be more comfortable with the fact that things change and will always change. That there's a wheel or a cycle that infinitely goes around. People go through highs and lows. They always will. You always will. Everybody does, whether it's quickly or within a lifetime. So if you lighten up on wanting things to be secure and solid and long term, and you accept that you're in a time of adaptability, you will take the expectations down a lot and pressure on yourself, and you'll take down the level of worry so that you enjoy yourself more. And that will help build your self-esteem so that you don't always feel like you're trying to make things solid at a time when it really can't be. And then you feel like, oh, I'm failing at it. And then you're hard on yourself for it. Instead, it's like nobody knows what's coming next in this post-COVID world. It's all restructuring. So how can you possibly know what's next or what to do in the next 2 years? Nobody does. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of antidote thought that would help you. All right, Gemini, how can you increase your self-esteem? So you've got the 7 of Wands. So that would mean that for you, you probably need to stand up for yourself, put your foot down, or set some boundaries in order to increase your self-esteem. You have Mars and Leo as your card. It's right on this card. Mars and Leo is standing up for yourself. This card always comes up when there's been something chronic that's bothering somebody. They've allowed a situation to go on too long. They've been frustrated for far too long and haven't said anything. And now Mars and Leo comes along and says, you better say it. You better just do it. You better just let go or move on or say, hey, stop it. Whatever that is, whatever that looks like, you will increase your self-esteem by standing up for yourself at this moment. Cancers, how do you increase your self-esteem right now? Interesting for a Cancer. This is an Aquarius card of science, 6 of Swords. This is analysis. This is detached, cool, calm analysis. So opposite to Cancer. All right, so for you to increase your self-esteem right now, you actually need to pull back and observe things like a scientist, like a psychologist, a researcher. Pull back and just take a look rationally. Maybe you even want to write it down, make a chart. Maybe you want to do some reading. Clarify your thoughts based on the emotions you've been feeling or the things you're thinking of changing or that need altering. Pull back and, get clarity and make a bit of a game plan, or pull back and get some rational clarity to detach you from something that might not be working for you anymore. Calm your language as well. Speak like I am. Very sort of flat, cut and dry, flat, matter of fact. This is sort of the antidote for Cancer, which if you're feeling like your self-esteem is low, or you're feeling like no one understands, and you're constantly trying to explain yourself and defend yourself and nobody gets it, Cancer will their voice will tend to get a bit higher, and they speak a bit faster, and then they start to feel really anxious. Then nobody's listening. Nobody's taking you seriously. So how do you get back to, how do you restore that? It's not like you turn off your emotions inside yourself, because you can't, and you shouldn't. It's that you pull back from expecting an emotional bond or reaction or validation from other people. And you say, you know what? This keeps happening with this person. Or, you know what? Every time I'm speaking to him, I feel this way. Interesting. Let's take a look. Okay, there's a pattern there. All right, so next time when I see him, I'll be friendly, but I won't open my heart so much, and I'll adjust myself. That's the level of sort of being analytical and detached about it. That's going to help your self-esteem a lot right now. Since, a lot of, especially people at the beginning, born in the late June phase of Cancer, you're going to be triggered the most by this full moon. So particularly for you. Leo, how do you increase your self-esteem? The Princess of Cups. So this is like I mentioned with the Queen, but even more sort of daydreaming and romanticizing and self-protective, cocooned, inner world, inner life, fiction and fantasy, music, poetry, pets, connection to the birds, the trees. Get out there in nature, spend some time alone, connect to that vulnerable feminine side of you. So your full moon is about connecting to the water side of these planets that we mentioned more than the bold, courageous moves. That message is there for a few other signs, but I think for you, it's about being softer and being more gentle and subtle with yourself, and honoring that side of you that maybe doesn't get heard as often. You might not be able to connect with it unless you're alone meditating or alone in nature. So allow yourself to connect with that side of you. It can also be talking about your inner child. All right, Virgo, how do you increase your self-esteem? And you get the job card, the projects, jobs, finances. So you're going to build your self-esteem by making things a little more solid. So let's say you've been feeling insecure about your finances. Sit down and make your budget, make a plan. If you've been feeling unsettled about your friendships, do something to solidify them. Anything that you've been feeling uncertain about, take some practical steps towards making them a little more concrete, a little more committed or affirmed. That's how you're going to build your self-esteem, because for Virgo, it's hard to ask for help. So, but maybe instead of saying, "Can you help me?" to somebody, maybe instead you're saying, "You know what, I would really appreciate your input on something that I would like to get done, but I'm finding it so busy. It would be nice to have your help with it." That's solidifying asking for help. It's solidifying doing something for your goal. And it's helping to bond or solidify a friendship without begging, for help or feeling weak or something. So it's the way you ask, it's the way you say things. But I get a feeling for Virgo, it's about put some of your plans a little further in motion, do a little bit more background research, ask for people's input or help a little bit. Libras, how do you increase your self-esteem? And you've got the King of Discs. Now this is the opposite to the Prince. The Prince hasn't grown up yet. The King definitely has. This is the Rock of Gibraltar kind of guy. Sometimes a little bit dull, but he's certainly secure financially. He works hard, and you can count on him. So if there's anybody in your life that matches this, maybe it's time to think about spending more time with them, going to them, asking them their sincere feedback, sincere constructive criticism, their expertise, have them weigh in. Sort of feels like to build your self-esteem, you need to let yourself rely on this guy, or this could be a woman, but you need to let yourself trust and rely on a person who is solid, not have to do, hey buddy, everything yourself, or not always feeling, skeptical or nervous to trust people. The other thing it would say, on the contrary, for your self-esteem would be that you are this person. So building yourself and taking decisions in your life that make you more secure and solid and reliable will build your self-esteem. It's all about reliability, I feel, for some reason, with you, Libra, this month. And Willow, my buddy, my little kitty, wants to say hello. All right, let's. So maybe this is a message because he's a little Capricorn and he's very loyal and reliable, and he's come to say hi during Libra. Hi, buddy. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's take a look. What does Scorpio need to build self-esteem? The Priestess. So Scorpio, for you to increase your self-worth and self-esteem right now, you need to reconnect to your higher self. You need to trust your intuition and trust your dreams and trust what you're picking up about things. And you need to pursue and continue on your spiritual path, whatever that looks like to you. This is divine feminine energy. It's flowing through you and to you. And so as long as you are not blocking it by working too hard or, I don't know, doing whatever addictive behavior or thing you do, or denying it, being cynical or whatever, as long as you say, no, I'm aware that there's a divine flow and I feel it and I'm allowing it through in whatever way it comes, whether you write more, you meditate more, you paint more, you're out in the woods more, you get crazy dreams, psychic visions, synchronicities, and you say, no, I trust this. Or you go back to reading something that was helping you develop yourself. It's all about opening and trusting your flow. All right, Sagittarius. Very nice. So Sag, to increase your self-esteem, this is the Lust card. So this is tapping into that side of that Mars and Leo side of the chart. Go out there and express something of your passion. Don't hold yourself back so much. Don't censor yourself. Yeah, that comes really strong as a message. Sag, stop censoring yourself. Allowing this level, look at her, she's just lying back like, I'm just drinking from the source of of passion here. She's not censoring or worrying about what people think. So that speaks again of the Mars and Leo. Think of something you can do or express or say that lets this side of you out. It needs to flow, and you need to feel somehow unrestricted in order to restore yourself and feel like you're back. Yeah. Capricorn, how do you build your self-esteem? Well, it's very interesting. It's a Virgo card, but it's the Eight of Pentacles. This is, literally planting things, growing things. Some of you out there, I know for sure listening, are gardeners. So in order for you to build your self-esteem, it actually shows something of similar to the process of planting and growing. And you're good at that. So it's like, what seeds are you planting? What seeds have you already planted that you're harvesting now? Take a look at and validate the hard work you've already done in your life. Take a look back and see, where am I now? How many years ago did I start thinking about and working towards where I got to now? And give yourself credit for how long you took, for how much work you put into the process. Give yourself a pat in the back for what you've achieved. that will build your self-esteem, and it'll secure your mind in what you have planted recently that hasn't grown, or what you're thinking of planting in the future, so that you just have more calm security, knowing that you will bear the fruit of what you plant, and making peace with how much time things take. And it's okay. There's no rush, and there's no lack that things take time. Aquarius, and you get the witch. So Aquarius, this is a message that for you to build your self-esteem, it's also about understanding the big picture, being at peace that many pieces have to fall in place in a very particular way, in a particular time, for them to be the perfect mixture. And so you can't control that. You have to accept and just keep doing what you do for your part of the mix, and just trust that there is a lot that's being set in motion. There's a lot of alchemy. There's a lot of chemistry in motion right now. And just as long as you're not trying to push it faster or make it slower, as long as you're not trying to somehow control the flow of something, and you work on allowing it to just be what it is, then it's going to be very good. It's going to be very good what comes out of this. So your big message for building your self-esteem is to let go and release any need to feel like you have to control or be on top of something. It's going to be beautiful, this mixture that comes out of you allowing things to flow. So you're more on the watery side of this chart. Be gentle to yourself, be kind, speak to yourself in kind, nice ways. Work on having that compassion for yourself and for other people, and just let things not need deadlines, or not need, it has to be this way or that way, or I want it this way or that way. This is a great card when you allow it to flow. And Pisces, finally, what is your message? How do you increase the self-esteem? All right, well, it's what I pulled. So 7 of Cups. You will increase your self-esteem if you let go of toxic dynamics. Habits and people and environments that are toxic to your system. This is a swamp. You have to get out of the swamp, clean up and dry off. So this could be a message, I said clean up and dry off. So, this could be a message to anybody. If you catch yourself and you know that you are being indulgent or addictive in some way, it's time to clean that up and dry off. And if it's people around you, and there's always like something negative, or just puts a wet blanket on things, always, chronic emotional dynamics that are a problem or that bring you down, all the way to anything that's really toxic or abusive. The way you build your self-esteem is to say that you will not allow that behavior or that environment around you anymore. You clean it up. So you clean up the environment that you're in, literally. You clean up the emotional environment you're in by having people around who are more loving, who are higher functioning. You clean up your dating life by not allowing, just don't go on a date for the sake of it if you know that you don't feel hopeful, or that if you don't feel like you're being treated as special, don't go. if it's financially and you feel like people are always undercutting you or something like, that's toxic stuff with money. Could be your own tendencies of overspending, but it could also be people always like, oh, sorry, I'll pay you back. Oh, no, I don't have it now, but it's later, and it's chronically late with their... Don't accept that. That's toxic as well. So it's raising the bar, cleaning up the behavior, cleaning up who's around you and who's allowed to be in your life. All right, so overall, I think it's a pretty inspiring full moon energy for everybody. And if you have any questions or you would like a private reading or Reiki session with me, I'm open online for readings. I'm open at a distance for any kind of Reiki or healing. If you're local and you want energy work, then I do that in person with masks the entire time. But there's no readings in person for now. It's all online. I find the flow for me and for the person I find it much better right now than it is in person. So that's why. But if you want to reach me, message me below this video or go to river-rain.com or Clairvoyant Medium Catherine Allen on Facebook. All right. Happy full moon.